Hi, everyone. My name is Domenica Escatel. I am the founder of this amazing community, Chicana Inc. And today we are here for Mujeres, Cultura y Pasión. I have a stellar lineup of influencers, Latina leaders. And so we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a jam-packed hour. So I'm going to bring on my co-host, Estrellita. She is a current graduate student at Stanislaus State University. She is the host of Cafecito con Estrellita, and she's just an upcoming amazing leader here local in Riverbank, California. So let's bring her on.
All right. Hola, mi gente. Welcome to Mujeres, Cultura y Pasión virtual panel. I want to start off with saying I am honestly so honored to be co-hosting alongside with Dominica and just being able to have the opportunity to work and network with other amazing mujeres that I am so happy to present for this panel. Now, before I officially state who these mujeres are, I need to share the background objective of this panel. So the panel, Mujeres, Cultura y Pasión, is focused on uplifting women to embrace their gifts as natural-born leaders through education, experiences, and inspiring stories. And once again, this panel would not be possible if it wasn't for all of us coming together and inspiring one another for the better. Now, these 5 mujeres, once again, I'm so honored to present because not only have they inspired and impacted my life in such a positive way, they have also inspired and impacted the lives of so many other mujeres. And I'm just ready for all of you to meet them. So we are first starting off with Viviana Maldonado, the creator of The Jefa Life. Next, we have Diana Pinero, a Latina entrepreneur, CEO and founder of Misinformed Latina, and the podcast host of Bestie Bestie Bam Bam. Next, we have Karina Nava, a registered dietitian and founder of Karina Nava Nutrition. Next, we have Brenda Hernandez Jaimes, the founder and host of Ellas the Podcast. And lastly, we have Melba Tellez, the founder of Mujeres on the Rise and a marketer at Amazon. Mujeres, mi gente, I am so honored to have all of you here. And once again, mi gente, this panel is going to be going on from 6 p.m. all the way to 7:10 p.m. So we're going to go ahead and start with our 6 p.m. group. But right after, we will transition into our 6:30 p.m. group. And lastly, if you do stick around for the 7:10 p.m. group, me and Dominica have that scheduled as a bonus round where her and I will be throwing back each other some questions so all of you can get to know us a little better as hosts. And you can also feel free to ask questions in the live chat during that bonus round. And all right, mi gente, let's go ahead and get started with our 6 p.m. group.
All right, we are transitioning, and please, everyone, as we're transitioning, right where you're from, drop us a hello. And ladies, I'm going to add you right back in. Got it. Okay, Estrellita. Ladies, for our 6 o'clock group, if you can add yourself back in, would be great. Or give me a wave. Okay. I'm loving all the comments here. Okay. Give us 1 second here. Okay, here we go. And then give me 1 second.
Of course. I'm just once again so honored for all of you. All right, perfect. So my amazing 6 p.m. group of mujeres, I already went ahead and gave you the spotlight, but I want to go ahead and ask that you talk a little bit more of what it is that you do with your platforms and whatnot.
I'll go ahead and go. I'm Viviana Maldonado. I'm the creator of the Jefa Life. The Jefa Life is a career blog for Latinas. I created it to inspire women to take control of their careers, hence the Jefa Life. And really what inspired me is knowing that, and I want other people to know that you don't have to be a manager, you don't have to be the CEO, you don't have to be the VP to take control of your career or to be successful. So this blog is really going to provide resources in the forms of stories. So I want to feature Latina women and talk a little bit about what they've done in the past, and hopefully we can all learn from one another. And currently, I live in Los Angeles, California. I work for one of the largest freight railroads in the United States, so I'm part of their law department, and I'm part of one of their investigative teams. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm super honored to be here and share the stage with everybody else.
Thank you so much, Viviana. Now let's all make sure we have our mics turned off, and we will be transitioning into Diana, Misinformed Latina.
Hi there, excited to be sharing the stage with you, Viviana and Estrella. My name is Diana Pinedo. I am the founder and creator of Misinformed Latina and the producer and host of the Bestie Bestie Boom Boom podcast. I created my online platform really dedicated to young Latinas and disenfranchised communities of color to really focus on what I consider the 3 adult life pillars. That's career, finances, and health. To really become more informed about those particular pillars, because when I graduated back in 2009, I navigated my adult life so blindly as a first gen and daughter of immigrants, as well as my own basic, education that I got. I didn't really become informed about these really important and necessary topics that are really vital to your adult life. And so through my own struggles and my own poor choice making and my own poor management, I thought, wow, if I feel this way, I'm assuming others do too. How can I ensure that we inform young Latinas about career, finances, and health so that they make much better decisions to live a prosperous and purposeful life? As an extension to Misinformed Latina, I created a Selena-inspired podcast, the Bestie Bestie Bon Bon, after one of her infamous songs, the Beady Beady Bon Bon, with my best friend, Elvia. We invite expert women of color to share the mic with us, and so they can really share their experience, their expertise, their resources, and their tools on all things career, finances, and health. And my goal is really to just level us up, inform more of us so that we really, live the life that we've always wanted with smart choices. And I'm thrilled to be here. I feel so honored to share the stage amongst all of these incredible women, and to have been invited by Dominica and Estrella to join this panel. So excited to be here and to talk with all of you.
And I appreciate your response so much, Diana, as well as you, Viviana. Now, once again, let's make sure our mics are off so we can transition into the question, my friends. So with your answers, it definitely shows that your content is focused on uplifting mujeres, whether it's through the career path or even with health, finances, and whatnot. So I want to go ahead and start off with the question with Viviana to then transition to Diana. How would you define success as a mujer?
Good question. So first and foremost, success is personal, hands down, and don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Success to me is being true to who you are. So in all aspects of your life. So it's not a title. Doesn't have a dollar sign in front of it, nor does it involve any kind of brand names. If you're living a life aligned with your values and your core beliefs, then I would say that you're pretty darn successful.
I would say that success is living life on your own terms, and showing up as your authentic self. I think for so long, I didn't deem myself successful because I wasn't able to fully embrace my own strengths, and I lived in a lot of self-doubt. And honestly, I find myself, although I'm probably not where I want to be monetarily or with a title, and I don't know if I will ever get there, and that's okay. I feel like I've definitely hit one of my success goals in just letting go of self-doubt. I find that to be really successful. We hang on to self-doubt and we let that really paralyze us from living the life that we want, pursuing the dreams, pursuing the goals. And so I think success is living life on your own terms, showing up authentically, and letting go of any self-doubt that we may have.
Beautifully, beautifully said by both of you. Again, the reason why I invited you on this panel, I love the way you respond and just how your answers have what we need as mujeres to feel uplifted. Now, I want to go ahead and transition into a topic that I find very important, and I know other mujeres do. So, because you both are also very focused on careers and just growing as a mujer, I know you are aware that there are mujeres that try and juggle 9 to 5s as well as their platforms. And based on your expertise, you definitely do know how that feels. So this will definitely be a 2-part question, and I will start it off with Diana to then transition into Viviana. It is rarely talked about how mujeres can handle and see how self-care and success can be intertwined. So what are your thoughts on that statement, that question? Once again, let's start off with you, Diana, and we'll switch on to Viviana.
So I recently just posted that there's no such thing as work-life balance, and I really believe that. There's only compromise and sacrifice. I think a lot of our panelists here, including myself, have a 9 to 5, and we all have these other dream hustles that we're doing, right? And so it is a lot of juggling, and it's also a lot of sacrificing and compromise. And I think it's about what is the priority for that day or that time, and let me focus on that. It may be that I'm not able to get to that other thing that I find really important. And it's like letting go of that guilt. The reality is women have been working what they call the day shift and then the second shift for centuries, right? Because a lot of us were working outside the homes and then coming back and working in the homes. And I say this whether you are a mother and actually caring for kids in a family, or you come home and still have to clean and cook, right? We've always sort of been given these 2 shifts. And I think that it's just so important that we prioritize self-care above all, because if we don't, then we can't show up for all these places, right? We can't give to our 9 to 5. We can't give to our dreams and our hustles and our hobbies and our passions. We can't give to our partners and our friends and our family if we don't first give to ourselves. So my best advice and what I've learned for myself is that every day is like, I need to make, what am I willing to compromise and sacrifice? And making sure that it doesn't include a lot of my self-care. So as long as I'm putting myself first so that I can show up 100% me, give my all to all the things that I do, even if it's not every day, because you just can't, you're just one person. I think that's how we're able to sort of balance the 2 and give to both. But it's extremely vital that we take care of ourselves first in order for us to take care of everything else around us.
Great answer, and I agree with you. It's really all about prioritizing. And I have a really unique situation because in addition to my 9 to 5, I'm also on call. So I'm a first responder, meaning I could be sleeping in bed at 3 a.m. in Los Angeles, California, and by 5 a.m., I'm in the middle of the California desert responding to an incident. So it is really on a daily basis. It's prioritizing. It's how am I going to take care of myself first and foremost? If I can't post that day, if I can't interview or I can't make it somewhere, that so be it, right? Because it really is all about prioritizing your needs, because without self-care, you will not be successful. You won't. You might have that title, you might have that money, but if you're not taking care of yourself, then what's the point? So I completely agree with you. It's all about prioritizing and a lot of sacrifice.
And this is a follow-up question I have with this question that I hope you both can answer the best to your ability, because it's kind of a surprise question too. I'm assuming, because I myself have been asked, why do you do so much? What's the point of having a 9 to 5 and doing these side platforms, doing this and that? What does it all mean to you? And either one of you can jump on and answer that. Take a few moments to think about it, but I would really love to hear your response with that.
I'll go ahead and get started. I learned early on, I think that we, especially as first gens, we're told, sort of to follow the lane or follow the steps. And you think that there's only one lane to life and you're supposed to do that one thing. But maybe you have other passions or other dreams or other goals. And I think I learned this much later, and I kind of wish I would have learned it early on. But you can be multifaceted, you can be multidimensional. I said this in a quote from a podcast episode that I did, but I love that she said, J-Lo once had an agent. And I know it's kind of silly to use her as an example. Obviously, we're not quite J-Lo, but she used this really great example. Her agent, J-Lo was initially a dancer, right? And then she was like, I kind of want to dabble in acting. And then I kind of want to dabble in singing. And her agent at the time, years ago, said, girl, you got to pick a lane. You can't do all three. And she said, why not? Why not? Why do I have to pick a lane? And she said, I don't want to. Watch me. And and she's even more than that, right? She's an entrepreneur in a lot of things. And I think it's a matter of, and I also want to say that it's okay if you don't have that innate hustle. I think we're almost not girls. Like, what do you mean? We praise the girls who have 10 things going on, but we don't praise the girls that just want to have a 9 to 5. Just a regular job, or not a 9 to 5, whatever. Just want to run a little online store, or whatever they want to do. I think that I do it because I feel like I always held myself back. Like, you're respected for that one thing that you do, and you got a degree in that thing, so do that thing. But it's like, well, no, I feel like I'm multidimensional and I'm multifaceted, and I have a lot of strengths, and I have so much value to give, and this is how I want to contribute. And this is the legacy I want to leave behind. And before I leave this earth, I want to know, like, I contributed in a really powerful way to the community that means so much to me. And I think that, to me, is why I have more than just my regular 9 to 5 job. And I also want to say that most of us probably have our 9 to 5. I like my job, and you should definitely like your job, because it funds all my other things, and it funds the life that I have. I'm very realistic, and I'm very practical in that way. I wouldn't give that up so that I could, like, pursue my dreams but not pay my bills. So I think it's important to have that reality. But I think that's why I have both. I honor my multidimensional and multifaceted Latina self, and I hope a lot of you do too if you feel the same way. But you don't have to do it all. I don't want to praise that. You can do one thing, and that's perfectly fine.
Moral of the story, do what you feel is right for you. Now, Viviana, you want to go ahead, and I definitely want to hear what you have to say.
No, I'm going to go back to it's personal, right? Mine's pretty simple. I just can't sit still. I'm very energetic. So if my mom's watching this, she's going to laugh and she's going to agree with me. I'm just very energetic, and I like to just be on the go. And I think that's why I have the job that I have at the railroad, because it's so unexpected. It is erratic. It keeps me on my toes. It really, really does. Like I mentioned, I'll wake up one day and think, oh, today I'm going to go into the office. And all of a sudden I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it really just depends, right? But for me, I enjoy it. I really, really enjoy being busy and connecting with people. That's one of my favorite things to do. It's networking and building relationships. So I would say that's one of the reasons that I like to stay busy.
And I love that. And I just love the fact that you all focus on, one, it's personal, and two, we just need to uplift all mujeres, because like you had mentioned too, Diana, I have the same point of view. And I know you agree with me, Viviana, that we want to, when we leave this earth, we want to leave knowing that we did exactly what we wanted to do. And that is uplift mujeres, which whatever platforms we are doing. Because on this panel, we have so many different mujeres that are working on different projects, such as Viviana's blogging, Diana and Brenda are for sure podcast hosts, Karina's a nutritionist, and Melba is working on a career-driven platform. So we're all very diverse in what we do, but we all share the same objective, uplifting mujeres. And now, before we transition to the 6:30, I do have one more question, and I would love to hear from both of you. So I'll definitely keep an eye on the time. So I want to go ahead and start with Viviana, and then we'll go into Diana. Why do you feel so motivated and resonate so much with helping mujeres?
So now more than ever, we women need to come together. And it's one of my core beliefs that not one person knows everything. We all have so many strengths. And I think we all need to capitalize on that, right? Just like you mentioned, all of the women that are on this platform, and we all have unique strengths. So I think that's really important that we need to use those strengths to learn and grow together. So I don't have children and I don't plan on having them, but I do have 3 nieces and they are my life and I love them to death. And I always think of them when I'm doing this, that I want them to grow up in a world where they do have more resources than I did growing up. So they are definitely my inspiration.
Oh, Viviana, I feel the same exact way.
Great.
I also don't want children, and I also love my nieces. So I echo the exact sentiment. But for me, it's very much the same. But I think it's because of my journey of feeling lost and misguided and misinformed. You know, I spent years making so many bad choices, and now I'm spending my 30s healing and fixing those bad choices. And I wish I would have had somebody like me sort of walking me through the adult life process, showing me such basic fundamental things so that I didn't have to be so lost or make really poor choices. So I think it's, I really created my platform so no one ever has to feel, especially Latinas, especially first gen, the way that I did. And I think I can really mitigate that and close that knowledge gap that is so lacking. And so I think that is why it's so important to have this platform and really introduce, I think, the world to the incredible women who are already doing so many great things. So much of my platform is really resharing other incredible women that are already doing things in the spaces that I'm talking about, because they're the experts in that field. And I want especially young Latinas to know that there are amazing role models and amazing women doing these things, and they can see themselves in them and grow to be just as successful and just as great, if not better.
No, of course. And I appreciate your answers so much. And once again, that's why I resonate so much with both of the work that you do on your career, finance, health blogs, and just other platforms that intertwine really well with what you do. And lastly, I just want to remind both of you, because you are just such precious gems, and I'm so happy I had found you on Instagram. I want to remind you that yes, you may have had challenges. Yes, you may have had obstacles, but if it wasn't for your story and the way it was paved, you would not be where you are today. And I love and can feel that you guys all resonate your stories, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be creating the wonderful magic that you are now. So if you want to share any feedback on maybe you resonate with what I'm saying or not, I'm going to just open up the mic. And if any of you want to say one last thing or respond to what I said, go ahead.
I'll go. Oh, Viviana, go ahead. No, well, first, I just think thank you so much. I think it's spaces like this. It's the culmination of these types of, you know, webinars and panels and the invitation and the honor to be amongst other really great women. It's really this is the reason why we can continue to uplift, continue to encourage, continue to educate, continue to inform, and continue to help. So I just want to say thank you so much for, you know, allowing me to be a part of the space, to sharing this energy and time with everyone here. And I'm excited to, you know, continue to push through, continue to inform, and continue to elevate us. I look forward to the day that we don't talk about stats, that we're only 2 or 4%, or that our wage gap is so small. You know, I look forward to the day that no longer is the case. And I hope that I do my part in impacting that.
No, I agree with everything Diana said, and thank you so much for having us. And I do think this is so important for the future generations, right? Because they're going to have so many more resources than all of us did. And I think that's so important and exciting. So thank you once again for having us.
All right, mi gente. So we're going to transition. And here we are transitioning to our 6:30 p.m. group. I am so happy and honored to have all of you here. As we're waiting for one more other guest, I want to go ahead and just reintroduce. We have Brenda, Melba, and we'll be having Karina very shortly. So if Brenda, if you would like to start off and sharing a little bit of what it is you do and just more about A as the podcast, and then we can go ahead and transition into Melba and then slowly Karina.
Of course. Thank you. First of all, gracias, Estrella, for inviting me to be part of this amazing panel. And I'm Brenda Hernandez Caimes. I am the founder and host of the podcast Ellas. I interview and talk with inspiring Latinas who are literally living their dreams and paving the path for this generation and the generation that is coming. The reason why I started Ellas was because growing up here in the US, I never really listened or heard or saw myself represented in traditional media or experienced success stories from Latinas. And growing up and studying communication and then really embracing my life mission, which is to amplify the voices of Latinas, was that I gathered all my skills and decided to do Ellas in order to amplify and share these success stories, these diverse journeys and experiences, so we can feel reflected, but also discover that inside of our community, inside of all these amazing mujeres, they're all very different. And if they were able to overcome their challenges, so can we. And I think that's really important now more than ever, to provide that representation and that voice and that journey so we can feel empowered and motivated to continue on, especially during these hard times and for the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. So we're going to go ahead and transition into Melba and then go on forward to Karina afterwards.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you, Estrella, so much for the invitation. I'm so glad to be here. I will say it's a little hard to go after Brenda because Brenda, you are so amazing. I tell you this all the time, but if you are not following Brenda, you need to go follow her. Her podcast is amazing and her work is just, it's great. But anyways, so my name is Melba. I am the founder of Mujeres on the Rise, and I am currently a Latina in tech. So I started Mujeres on the Rise because I really wanted to empower Latina women, and Mujeres on the Rise is all about doing that. It's a platform that connects Latina women, and it gives them resources, tools, and support to grow their careers and honestly just build the life they've always wanted and perhaps never thought possible. And this to me is really important because for such a long time, I thought I was not destined for success. And I went from being a high school dropout to eventually getting my master's degree. And now, I'm the only Latina in my team at Amazon. And I'm the founder of a company which I never thought would be possible. And even though I have a long way to go and I have all of these big, incredible dreams, I am in awe of what I've accomplished. And I say that because I feel like as women, we sometimes struggle to really take ownership of our achievements and we just kind of hide them in the back burner when in reality we need to speak to those. And so yeah, that's a little bit about me, and that's a little bit about Mujeres on the Rise. It's a platform to connect women, to show them how to speak and own their value, and just give them tools and resources to build that life they've dreamed of.
All right. Thank you so much, Melba. And now, Karina, if you could share a little bit about everything that you do.
Yeah, well, thanks, Estrella, for having us. Like all the other fellow panelists have said, it's really great to come together. And I think one thing, Melba, what stood out to me is sometimes we sort of put things on the side or maybe downplay our success. And so I caught myself recently saying, oh, my side hustle. And then I realized, wait a minute, no, I have a business. And so I'm a registered dietitian and I own Karina Nava Nutrition. It's really a private practice where I have clients who I want to express the message of you don't need to diet. You don't need to be so stressed about what you're eating. And I really want my clients to find the joy in eating and really understand that nutrition is so complex and really important in our lives. I became a dietitian because of my mom's illness about 15 years ago. She's come a long way, but she was diagnosed with cancer, and so blessed that my aunt, who's a doctor in our family, watched over her. And so I started to learn a lot about, how to care for people with cancer, just hearing from friends and family. So I feel like seeing how powerful food can be from that perspective, and then seeing how this communicated diet culture can be, it really was this shift of like, oh my gosh, no, we don't need to hate food. We don't need to be labeling good or bad. So I really like to help my clients enjoy eating and get back into the kitchen and learn how to make some yummy food that makes them feel good.
No, definitely. And I appreciate all your responses so much. Now, before we move on to the questions, I just want to make sure that all of us have our mic off. And once we do turn it on, it'll be because we'll be answering some questions. And this definitely does go for myself. So the first one I definitely want to focus on is, why is it important for your content to uplift mujeres? And I want to go ahead and start off with Karina, transition into Melba, and then go on to Brenda.
Yeah, great, really great question. And I touched on this a little bit, but I think especially nowadays with social media, we really see all of these mixed messages about health, like what fit looks like. I think even that has become, in a way, an eating disorder in disguise. And so I'm really all about body positivity and owning your health, and also about, hey, just because you're not following everything perfectly, just because your weight says something, that doesn't reflect your worth or your health. So for me, I think it's important to remind people about really the root of nutrition. And it's all about enjoying your food, feeling confident about what you're putting into your body, and also healing and getting that energy, rather than stressing about how many pounds you've lost, or stressing about whether you've met your calorie intake or your steps and all of that. So that's my motive, and hopefully I've been inspiring people.
And I love your motive. I can definitely say I love your facts and your story behind it, where I even applied in my own life when I take my lunches to work and whatnot. All right, Melba, I want to go ahead and transition into you next. Thank you so much, Karina.
Yeah, so for me, honestly, the answer, it's quite simple. So for me, it's important to uplift mujeres because representation matters. It's always mattered, and it's going to continue to matter until things change. And I share this story a lot on my platform, but when I actually attended graduate school, my first day of graduate school, I got to this breakfast assembly, and I put my things down very comfortably. I was about to sit down in a table, and I look up, and every single person at that table was white. And I had never felt so small and so insecure in my life. And I remember walking out of that breakfast assembly, I called my husband and I told him, the university made some kind of mistake. They shouldn't have admitted me. I don't belong here. I am expecting a retraction email soon telling me to just hand in my ID and get out of the campus grounds. And again, I felt so small that day that I don't want anyone to ever feel like that again. And in order to change the stats, and in order to really bring light to the issues of representation, we need to uplift mujeres. We need to encourage them to pursue higher education. We need to encourage them to start businesses. We need to encourage them to be their own boss. We need to ultimately encourage them to follow their dreams, regardless of what their dreams are. It doesn't matter if you want to get a PhD or if you don't want to go to college at all because you want to start your own business. That's fine, but that decision is for mujeres to make. They need to feel empowered to make the decision that is best for them.
And I agree 100%, Melba. And I loved your answer to that. Brenda, I can't wait to hear yours. Would you mind sharing?
I totally agree with Melba. Representation matters. Growing up, if you don't hear this uplifting stories and journeys of Latinas around you, then you yourself are going to doubt yourself. Like, like Melba, you are accepted in a space that you thought was impossible. But if you are constantly being, if you listen, if you see, and if you read success stories of women that are like you or part of the same community as you will enter these spaces with so much confidence and so much empowerment and knowledge that you can really take on the world. So for me, yes, there have been moments where, imposter syndrome has overcome, but I, go back, to all of my amazing guests, and I'm like, they also went through this, and they have been able to uplift each other, and they've been able to uplift me through really hard times. So it's really, really important and vital for just uplifting our mujeres. And if they want to pursue any type of path, let's say opening up their business, or going into acting or singing, like that is what's going to make them happy, then that is the path. And because they've been experienced and surrounded by these stories, they know that it's possible.
And I appreciate and resonate with your message so much as well. Oh, mis mujeres, this is amazing. And this brings up my next question so perfectly. You are all three so passionate at what you do and obtain a knowledge that not many do, because you've just immersed yourself so much into your work to then educate other mujeres to want to continue educating themselves. So I want to ask you, how has your field of study at the university level taken part in creating your current platforms you have now? So I definitely want to start off with Brenda, transition into Melba, and then end off with Karina with this question.
Yeah, so I studied communication, and from the very first semester, I was approached with the opportunity to be part of the radio station of my school. So I took the opportunity and had my first radio show. I was living in Mexico, and it really helped me develop, not be afraid of the microphone, and really own my voice and be confident in what I had to share. From there on, I went and focused more on journalism and interviewing, and just being prepared and be ready, like on the job, like at that same minute, and being surrounded by and interviewing from politicians to artists, and really discover that I was good at it, that I was great at it, and that I enjoyed myself. And I also loved hearing these stories and what they had to share. Helped me along the way throughout the years really embrace that my life mission was to amplify Latina voices. So through university and having my radio show, through interviewing on internships, and really knowing the knowledge of later in my career and going into like marketing, I really embraced all those tools and skills and have applied it with AYES. I have a great sense of putting my guests always first and respecting their times, and really informing them of, what is behind AYES, our mission, our values, what we're trying to communicate in each and every episode. So I think with every class and every show that I had over the years has really prepared me for this moment.
Thank you so much, Brenda. And I really resonated with that too, especially because I know the experiences that can be gained at a university campus. It seems like it would be something so small, but yet, let alone, it will continue to grow and grow. And you have definitely shown that with your platform. All right, Melba, I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So for me, I did my bachelor's degree like Brenda in communications, and I went into that because I initially thought I wanted to be a journalist. Lo and behold, that was not the place for me, because as the moment they told me that I was going to have to report on like the university, I don't know, football team, soccer team, whatever it was, I was like, "Oh, like no, this is not for me because I don't do sports." But then eventually I went on to get my master's degree in marketing. And what I want to call out though, before I answer your question, is that you don't have to have it all figured out. For me, I went back and forth a lot of times when I was trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. I, at one point, wanted to be a lawyer, and then I wanted to be a journalist, and then I wanted to be, an array of other things. And this goes back to what Diana was talking about earlier, that it's okay to be multifaceted, but it's really important that, in doing all of these things, we figure out what really speaks to our heart. So for me, after doing communications, I took a PR and marketing class and I absolutely loved it. And I think I always loved marketing, but I just didn't know there was a term for it. And once I discovered this term and I, opened myself to this opportunity, I decided to get my master's degree in marketing. And of course, both of these hand in hand have helped me a lot with my platform, because communication skills matter. And it doesn't really matter if you're trying to build a platform or if you're an engineer, communication skills matter for everyone. And that's something that I tell a lot to the people that I work with as clients is, you need to develop good communication skills because they will get you far. And I don't care if you're in a science industry, if you are a web developer, good communication skills will take you a long way. So of course, with me having a platform, they definitely help me. They also help me with my career coaching clients, being able to really get to the root cause of their issues. And then my marketing background obviously comes in handy a lot when it comes to creating graphics, marketing myself. And once again, I'll iterate this, every single one of us are marketers as well, because from the moment you get up and how you decide to present yourself at school or at work, you are marketing yourself, and people are making assumptions based on how you decide to market yourself and how you show up. So yeah, I definitely feel like I ended up figuring it out along the way, and it ended up working out for me beautifully, but don't feel pressured to have all the answers right up front. Things just have a way of working themselves out, but you will not know that and you will not figure it out unless you go out there and you try different things.
And I agree with you so much, Melba. And going back to the part where you said that it's okay not to all know what it is at once. And I can say that because I love higher education. My podcast focus on uplifting our Latinx first generation students to make it through education. However, myself, I spent 6 years in undergrad, dropped out of a program, and then reapplied to a program months later. And well, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it's all about loving the journey and going from there. Now, Karina, I definitely want to hear from you. I just felt because we resonate, all of us, with this message in regards to studying and it's okay not to have it all figured out. That's why I wanted to put in my 2 cents as well. All right, Karina, I'll give it off to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great to hear everyone's journey and where you all came from. For me, maybe I was lucky, but I knew right away I wanted to be a dietitian. And so my studies for sure are very much needed in the role that I'm at now. But I think, so I majored in nutrition and I also minored in Spanish. I felt like, especially the statistics, I want to say even the 2020 statistics for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, there's low representation of Latinas. I mean, only 3 or 4%. And so when you think about all of the health disparities, all the patients that you see in the hospital who are sick, have diabetes, high blood pressure, that's our community. And so for me, I realized, even though I grew up speaking Spanish, I know the culture, had the great opportunity to visit my family frequently. So I know the culture so well. I figured, I need to really hone in on this. And our university, I went to Cal Poly Pomona here in Southern California, and they had an excellent program for Spanish-speaking dietitians or students. So I took extra courses to learn about nutrition in Spanish. So it was incredible. I mean, my family's from Mexico, Jalisco, so I know everything Mexican, but it really, in a sense, I was in my own little bubble because I never really knew any Salvadorians or Peruvians. And so I think that really prepped me in working with the Latino population. And so where I'm at now with owning my own business, I think this is kind of a new, maybe niche for dietitians. I mean, I know their dietitians have been private practice for so long, but promoting yourself on social media is definitely something new. So I definitely don't think I maybe learned enough in school, but I think, I mean, when I started college in 2009, that's when Facebook came out. So a lot has changed. So I was really motivated to get a master's. And so I felt this step between Masters of Science, or do I go with public health, because that's what's popular in our nutrition field. And I felt like neither really resonated with me. I always loved being involved, loved being a leader and just joining different clubs and things like that. And then when I found out that there was a university or Utah State University that offered a master's in dietetic administration, I thought, this is it. This is for me. So it's really for people who want to own their own private business, go into private practice, who want to be a manager, supervisor. So there's where I really got to hone in on some of those skills. But I'm still learning about the social media and the whole platform. Estrella, I was listening to one of your episodes, and I remember you said something about like your intern, aka your sister, and I laughed out loud because I was like, oh my God, my sister. Yeah, she's so involved, and my brother as well, and I have a good friend who joined my team. But it really is so great to get that support, because I mean, I think I'm learning all this about social media, so that's how my studies have helped.
And I love the fact that you highlighted that you do reach out for help when needed when creating your content. I mean, I have shared with all of you that when I was creating the website for Cafecito con Estrellita, I was going back and forth with both yours and Melba's websites, where now it's saved as like one of my most searched websites.
Oh my gosh, that means a lot.
No, definitely. All right. So the next question I definitely want to transition into is just the topic of burnout, because we're all doing so much. Not only do we have our 9-to-5s and our businesses that we're just trying to continue to grow, but we also have our priorities with our family, friends, self-care obligations. So I definitely want to start out with you, Melba, and then transition into Karina and Brenda. What do you have to say about burnout? What kind of tips, advice, anything you can give?
So I guess I'll start by saying that, burnout should not be underestimated. It can really get the best of you. And honestly, I don't have it all figured out. I still suffer from burnout occasionally. And honestly, I think it's because I'm really hard on myself. I'm really hard on myself, and I have all of these dreams, all of these goals and things that I want to accomplish. And sometimes it's really easy to put additional pressure on myself to get these things done immediately. And in times like these, I really just have to take a step back and remind myself that most things take time. I'm not going to achieve the growth that I want with Mujeres on the Rise from one day to another. And I'm not going to, get a promotion from one day to another. Like, this is obviously just an example, but anything that you're working on, it's going to take time, and that's okay. So I think for me, the biggest thing that I'm working on currently is letting go of guilt. And this is something that specifically became prominent, I guess you could say, during working from home, because in times when I was working, I felt like maybe I should be working on my business instead. Or in times when I was working on my business, I'm like, oh, I should be working on my 9 to 5. Or I don't know, even just something as simple as sitting down to watch Netflix, I would feel guilt. I would feel guilt because I was like, there's these 10, 20 items on my to-do list. And instead of watching, another episode of Cake Boss, maybe I should go and get some work done. But I mean, again, it's a work in progress. And I think it really does start with letting go of guilt and treating yourself as you would your best friend. So if you saw your best friend doing and trying to juggle 20 things at a time and really just losing hair, losing sleep, and just losing her sanity, what would you tell her? And I'm sure you would talk to your best friend seeing that things are working and things are moving at the pace that they need to be. And we really just need to use that same tone with ourselves.
And I agree 100%, Melba. And just all the work you've done with describing what burnout is, how it feels. I myself, not only as an educator, because I work for a local school district, but also as just a student, whether you're at the undergrad level or at the graduate level, it's like just always feeling that guilt as mujeres, we should always just be doing more, but we have to put ourselves first in order to minimize and just lessen the chance of us gaining those burnout feelings. All right, Karina, I definitely want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about burnout?
Yeah, this is tough or interesting, I guess, to bring up, because I think, especially with building my brand or promoting myself on Instagram, prior to that, I wasn't really so on Instagram or social media. I never really posted too much unless I was, out on a trip or out with friends or whatever personal things I wanted to share. So I think for me, it started to creep up in the sense of almost like not being addicted to my phone, but very much like looking at my phone like constantly after posting content, and oh my God, is this good enough? I'm not getting enough likes, and still, I mean, to this day, I'm always like telling my husband, like, go like my picture so that it doesn't get lost in the feed. So I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out social media, but I think after watching The Social Dilemma, I think that's the documentary on Netflix. I thought, like, oh my gosh, it has to be this balance between, like, social media can be a good thing, but don't let it affect your personal life too much. So what I did after that movie was I turned off my notifications for Instagram and Facebook. I just felt personally like that's what was stressing me out or causing some of this like tension. So now, and it's silly because I actually forget about it, and it's not until I check my phone, which is still pretty frequently, and I go into the app, I'm like, oh, I have all these likes, I have all these comments or messages or whatever. So I think that's brought a lot of peace and tranquility. And I think another thing too with burnout, figuring out these strategies, and things are going to evolve. And so you're going to have to try some new things along the way. I've always been a busy bee, and I say with Melba, it's like, oh my gosh, I just, like, why am I sitting down? I should be doing something. So I think it's sometimes our body physically is telling us you need to slow down. And for me, that's been a really big lesson. I'm about 3 months pregnant, so the last couple months were really tough because, I mean, you just can't fight it. The exhaustion, I was so tired, feeling really nauseous. And so for me, not being able to cook and not eating as great as I could be was so hard because, I'm the dietitian. I'm supposed to do everything so perfectly. So I think that was really my body saying, like, my baby saying, hey, slow down, you need to rest. So I think a lot of times we need to pick up on those signals, and that can vary from person to person.
No, definitely. And I agree. And I appreciate the detailed response you gave to that, where even in the sense that after you post something, you feel like, is it getting enough likes? Because I myself have been there. And sometimes it's a really tough feeling, and you try to shake it off, but it could be a little tough. But I know with time, and it's happened to so many, and I could see it's happening with you too. You just learn to, like, it's okay if it does or if it doesn't. Because at the end of the day, it's something that I worked on and I am proud to upload. So whatever love it gets, I'm just happy it gets love, And lastly, I definitely want to hear from you, Brenda, about burnout, your thoughts and whatnot.
Yeah, so I am currently experiencing burnout. Now I've experienced burnout throughout my life, but I think it wasn't, obviously the lockdown happened and I just went into a mindset of like, okay, let's go, let's do this, let's work. And I never really gave myself a break. And it wasn't until like the beginning of September that I just was in shambles. I didn't feel I could go on and just do simple tasks. So for me, the way I have provided self-love and build myself up again is through therapy. And through therapy, I've learned that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to not experience guilt and feel that guilt of taking 15 to 20 minutes or even a week of me not editing an episode and just enjoying watching Pride and Prejudice and hugging my pillow. That for me, and I've been doing that for the past month now. There's moments where I love doing what I do for ADAS, but there's moments where I'm like, I can't even edit an episode because I'm just so tired and just so burned out. So I highly encourage, if you're experiencing the same things, to not feel guilt, to do things that bring you so much joy, and focus. And if that's a day, 20 minutes, a week, 2 months, take that break. We're living in stressful times, and it's okay to take that break. And once you go through that break, you're gonna have just like the joy, and just you're gonna miss doing what you did before. I'm currently, climbing through that hole that I dug myself in, but I'm every time I have a conversation with my guests, I remind myself, like, oh yes, like this is why I'm doing it. This is why I shouldn't burn myself out, because at the end of the day, I'm sharing these conversations, and if I'm not at my best, my listeners are going to, listen in my voice. And I also want to motivate and inspire my listeners to, not stretch themselves, and that just because also like I'm doing this doesn't mean that I'm gonna, stretch myself out or anything. So I highly, yes, encourage you to take a break, to do things that bring you joy, and go back out there when you're ready.
And I love the fact that you explained it so perfectly, that if you need that break, definitely take it. Because as I shared earlier, I've experienced burnout and I didn't understand what it was. I really didn't until I came across Mujeres on the Rise and I started to see her weekly series with it. And then once I took a little break, because with my podcast, I do seasons per season. So season 1, season 2. So after season 1, I was just done. But I took that month break, just like you said. And then when you take those types of breaks, you just feel more empowered to keep doing what you love. It doesn't mean you love it any less just because you take a break. And then going back to just the knowledge, Karina, when I came back from my burnout break, I started to think back, okay, what do I need to do better for me to continue not just going as a student, but to continue going as a podcast host or whatever other projects I may be working on, and even just as an educator. And I started to think, if I want to just be better for me, I need to also implement food that makes me happy and is good for me. And that's what I do. Or even I have not bought lunch at work in so long because I want to feel good about the food I eat, just like how you share a lot. And well, I do when I bring it from home. And this is why I appreciate mujeres such as you three, as well as Viviana and Diana, because you all share a mission and a passion to uplift mujeres with the expertise that you know, and you are definitely making a difference. And I hope me, as well as all the viewers and listeners that are present right now, are just like, I want you to know that we appreciate the time and work you put into everything. And lastly, before we even end this part of the panel, I want to ask a question, the last one. Our platforms, they can definitely be very foreign to our families in the sense where social media is different. And just like have you brought up, Karina, it continues to just elevate and change. So, and I just want to hear from each of you. It doesn't have to be such a deep answer because we're all still learning with social media and whatnot. In your opinion, with our platforms that can be so foreign to our gente, our cultura, how do you think we can elevate our cultura to want to grow with us and our foreign platforms to them? And I definitely want to start off with you, Brenda, go off to Melba, and end with Karina.
Yes. So I think for our parents, let's say for our parents, it's foreign that we are doing a podcast or we're doing a blog or, opening our business and marketing it through social media. What I recommend is to share it with them, invite them, show them what you're doing so they can really understand the things that, why you're all the time on the phone. For me personally, when I started doing my podcast before COVID, I would go and visit my guest houses or offices, and I would take my mom, and she would help me take videos, take photos, and she would, talk with my guests while I was setting up the microphone and everything. And just having that experience of obviously her seeing what I was doing and then later on publishing it and hearing and listening to all the comments, that really made her understand the work and the platforms that I was in and why I was on my phone most of the time. But yes, just I highly encourage you to invite them and show them and see what other people are saying about your projects. Because if you're just saying, oh yes, I'm doing this blog, but they don't see the result of the work that you do, they might not understand it. But when they do, it's much more easier. And at the end of the day, our parents, our families are very proud of us. So, that's just going to give them more fuel for them to, talk about you with their friends and their families and say, look, mira lo que está haciendo mi hija, ¿no? Tiene su podcast y está entrevistando a gente súper exitosa. O sea, that at the end of the day, like, that's going to even create a more deeper connection with your family and friends and loved ones.
And you beautifully put that together. I love it. Melba, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm going to echo a lot of what Brenda said. I think it's all about, educating our parents specifically about what we're doing because, they grew up in different times and it's completely normal for them not to know and not to completely understand what we're doing. But for me, in my case, so I did talk to my mom about what I was doing with Mujeres on the Rise. And I mean, I think she forgot within a week. And then I would keep bringing it up until she got tired of me hearing about it. And then I told her, you know what? Let's create an Instagram account for you. And it's really funny because, well, my mom lives in Texas and I live in Washington. So I had my niece, my 15-year-old niece, create an Instagram account for her. And I'm the only one that my mom follows. But I think it's so cute because she'll go on there and she'll see what I'm doing. And she's like, oh, hoy vi que pusiste una foto de una mujer que se llamaba Brenda or whatever. She'll just, look at random pictures. And I'm like, okay, mom, that picture was, like 4 months ago, but she'll see it because I'm the only person that she follows. So she'll see it in her feed. But again, it's all about just that education component. And for me, I think it is important that if you're doing something, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a platform or something in your career, that you do share that with your family, with your parents, because you want them to know that everything that they did for you to be here now has been worth it. You want them to know that their sacrifices were worth it because they paved the way for us, just like we're paving the way for future generations.
And I love that answer, Melba. You went in so detailed. Karina, I'm really looking forward to hear what you have to say with this question.
Yeah, I could very much agree. I mean, I think that or our families, parents, grandparents didn't grow up with this generation. And so for my parents, they are on social media, well, only Facebook, but same thing, right? It's showing them how to make a post, add a comment or whatever that might be. And I think I've really taken that approach maybe because of the teacher in me. With nutrition, you're always teaching people, right? And so I always feel like my mom will say, oh, I don't know how to do that. And I'll be like, okay, mom, I'm going to have you do it. And she's always so nervous about messing up. And so I'm like, no, if you mess up, we'll just start over again. So I think really taking that time to one-on-one show them how to look at your post, share your post. I mean, they're your biggest supporters. And if maybe they're not on social media, I think there will still be a way that they'll hear about you. For example, my grandma, for the longest time, she was not tech savvy at all, right? I think she's 84 years old. But anyway, she one time said to our family, yo quiero uno de esos teléfonos con la manzanita. And so we just started cracking up, how does she know about iPhones, I mean, she's very vigilant, right? And so now she finally has a smartphone. But before that, I mean, are my cousins or aunts and uncles on social media, or they would hear about what I'm doing or my website went live, they showed it to her. And so I think that's, whether they're not on social media or they are, they're going to be your biggest supporters. And so if you could just take that little step to show, hey, this is how you can support me, I think that really, again, speaks to how they've paved the road for you.
No, of course. And once again, I appreciate all your responses with that. All right, mi gente. So we're coming to an end for this panel as we're getting closer to 7:10. Once again, I want to thank all of these 5 wonderful mujeres. You can go ahead and follow them all on Instagram. We have A as the podcast, Mujeres on the Rise, Karina.nutrition, at the Heffa Life, and then we have Misinformed Latina. So definitely go check it out because I promise all their content is not only empowering, but it is also very informative. And I promise you will enjoy all the work that they have to do. All right, mi gente, my wonderful mujeres, if you have anything else left to say before we move on to our bonus section, feel free to unmute your mic and we will be happy to hear from you.
I just want to say gracias, Estrella. And for anyone who wants to start a project, a business, anything, a path right now, I say do it, but also take care of yourself, take that break, and really take the time to work on before starting. So once you start, you are ready to go. And remember that we all 5 have done this. We're currently working on it, and so can you. So I wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. So yes, same thing. Thank you so much, Estrella, for being here. And thank you to everyone that actually joined the conversation and participated in the comments. For some reason, I could not respond, but if you left me a comment, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. My final remarks are that it does not matter where you start. All that matters is that you do. So don't feel intimidated. Don't feel like you have to live up to these unrealistic expectations that people have on women. Just go at your own pace and follow your dreams.
Yeah, thank you, Estrella, for this opportunity. It's been really great being surrounded by other Latinas, and I think whether you feel like you're alone in your field, for me, the minority in my career, I think there are other Latina business owners, leaders that you can still resonate with. I mean, one thing that I learned from my dad is we all have a story to share. We all have something to tell and learn from. And so if we can pass on these stories, it really speaks volumes. And so I think being involved with a community like this, it's really incredible how social media has provided this platform for us.
And I appreciate all 5 of you mujeres so much. Now we're going to go ahead and slowly transition into the bonus round with me and Dominica. And I look forward to seeing you all on the other side.
Thank you, ladies. All right, Estrellita, you ready?
Yes, I definitely am. Would you like to start us off?
All right, let me get here situated.
No worries. If anything, I could go ahead and start us off and then we'll go on from there. But once again, I thank you so much, Dominica, and just your platform with Chicana Inc. for not only helping put this platform together virtually, but just your support and just your strong beliefs in wanting to empower mujeres to be the best leaders and just the best mujeres that they can be for themselves. So the first question I definitely have for you,
Okay.
how do you juggle a 9 to 5 while maintaining your platform? I'm going to go ahead and put myself on mute, but I can't wait to hear.
Definitely. Estrellita, first of all, thank you for the compliment. And I'm just excited to run alongside you and really help you, be motivated, go after your career goals, and open any opportunity that's in my power to give you and the ladies who joined us today. So, you asked the $1 million question that I often get asked, and it really has to be with passion and wanting to serve others. I really am a big fan of putting that motivation in front of me that, if it's in business, I'm never going to see dollar signs. I'm going to see the lives that I changed and the lives that I'm helping. And so when I really am having a tough day where I'm like, oh goodness, how can I balance all this? I really remember that. And that really is what keeps me motivated in doing this. today is a great example to be able to just bring to the table a program like this and let you lead, Estrellita. That was such a high for me. Like, that is why we're here, to help each other. And so I really have to say that when you have your mission statement clear, when you know that you want to help others, and that you know what your gifts and talents are, and you just want to give those away and bring all that to the table, that balancing that other side of you or that other hat is really going to be minimal to what this gives you back. So definitely that's my motivation.
And I really appreciate your response, especially because not only did you go in so detailed, but you were able to just give the real examples of what you've experienced with your heart, your feelings, in helping other mujeres just strive to be the best. Now, the next question I definitely want to ask, and it's more of a funny one. What is something no one knows about you?
Well, let's see. That's a really good question. And it probably has to do with the amount of things that I have done where I don't post it, and the amount of recognition that I've gotten for this type of work that I've done, and I really don't put it out there. And so it's funny because I was talking with a friend like about a week ago, and she was like, Dominica, you're just like this hidden superhero character. Like, you really don't say who you are and what you've been through and all these. Like, if you come to my house, I actually have a wall with like full of certificates and plaques and recognition. And and I only did that because I saw a friend. I went to her house and I thought, oh, this would be a good way to display, all my accolades. But on the flip side of that, it's really taken me a long time to talk about those things, because I think as Latinas, we tend to think, oh, no, I'm not going to be, humble, or somebody's, is going to get intimidated by me. We do this head game. But as I went along on my journey, I realized, like, no, like, that's what I have to bring to the table. I earned it, and really proud that I have all these accomplishments. But I think that would be the one thing, is how many multiple hats I wear and exactly all these other things that I do in the community.
No, definitely. And once again, that response right on point. Now, lastly, I do want to ask this. What chore did you like the least growing up?
Okay, that is a good one. So my dad grew chilies in the backyard for the longest time. And I don't even remember what kind they are, but I think that might be a little bit of why I have trauma. Anybody that knows me, I do not eat anything hot. And so I always get made fun of because they're like, Dominica, what? You're not Latina. You don't like anything spicy. And I joke that it's because of all those years growing up, he would make me go to the backyard and I'd have to go water his chilies. And I'd be so annoyed because they were my chilies. They were his chilies. And so that is the one chore that I absolutely did not like.
Oh my goodness. I don't think I ever grew up watering chilies, but I definitely did grow up watering a good amount of plants. My parents love plants, so I can resonate with that with you. All right, Dominica, so whenever you're ready, you can start and shoot away. Or if you happen to have seen an interesting comment, you can point it out too from the comment section on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, definitely. Estrellita, I have to ask you the same question you asked me. I really would love to know your answer. So about your chore, if there wasn't one that you didn't like, was there one that you liked?
For some reason, the chore that I really enjoyed growing up, this is very silly, but it's so true. I actually enjoyed cleaning my restroom. And the reason why I did is because when I would be cleaning it, I would have my music up, so it would be echoing even more loud into the restroom. And no one would come in and bother me because nobody wanted to help me clean the restroom, because who wants to? And then I could take, like, if my mom was trying to look for me to go on and do another chore, I would just say, oh, I'm still cleaning the restroom. And it would be a believable chore that could take a long time because Some people just don't like the bathroom, so they take longer cleaning it. Some can go
Right.
faster. A lot of the times I would finish cleaning it in like about 20 minutes, but then I would spend an extra 30 minutes just like hearing music and just telling my mom, I'm not done cleaning it yet.
I would have never known that, but thank you for sharing. You kind of flashed back to me. I used to work at a movie theater, and I know that if you're watching on my page, you know exactly who you are. That would be one of the things that we would have to do, is like one of my first jobs, and we'd have to do the bathrooms along with cleaning the movie theaters. Like, so I completely can resonate with that thought, because I've probably done it all in my educational journey. But Estrellita, I want to know, I want to ask you, because I know you're in graduate school, and this is something that I've dealt with as well. And it's taken me a long time to really tackle it. But people will talk about imposter syndrome in academia and leadership roles. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome with your content creator roles?
Yes, I have. Now, real quick, before I do answer that question, I just do want to turn on the lights, so give me a few moments.
And as you do that, Estrellita, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This was really a passion project. It is. It took a lot of support for us to do it. And there we go, Estrellita. Go ahead.
No, definitely. And thank you for that. That was my ring light, but I guess my ring light had like a time limit, but it's okay. It's just the importance of still going on forward. All right. So with the thing about imposter syndrome, I will go ahead and touch about it a bit in regards to academia, but then I will also move on to talking about it as a content creator that I'm currently striving to be as well. Now, in regards to the field of academia, I can honestly say that once I finished community college and I transferred on to UC Santa Barbara, it took me over a year to feel confident in myself and what it is that I'm doing. And it wasn't only because of the fact that it was a predominantly Caucasian school, but it was also the fact that I just was not doing as great in the major I had transferred with. Now, here's the thing, mi gente. A lot of the times when you transfer to a community college, to a four-year university, specifically a UC, they tend to have certain prereqs for the major you go into. Now, a lot of these prereqs, they're not the same for every UC campus, so you really have to do your research. I myself had not gained the math skills I had wanted to at the point. So I was still missing quite a few math requirements I needed to get out of the way to continue on with the psychology major I did transfer with. Unfortunately, it did not work out, but I can proudly and honestly say that I did try. I went to tutoring. I went to different resource centers, the transfer center, office hours, anything that you can think of, I did to try and just continue on with the psychology major. So it didn't work out. However, I would have not changed it any other way, because then I was able to find myself in the major global studies as well as Spanish literature. So I actually ended up graduating with 2 degrees and completing my senior honors thesis, graduating with honors after I started my first 2 quarters on academic probation, just because I couldn't make it into the psychology major. So even though I did find my way and I found passions in academia at UCSB, I still felt the imposter syndrome come into me, where it was like, there is no way I was able to change from a major that quickly and still graduate with honors after not having the greatest GPA at all. So I definitely experienced imposter syndrome throughout my entire senior year as well, in the sense that every time I turned in an assignment, every time I did something, I would just feel very tense, and I wouldn't believe the A's I would get in my exams. I wouldn't believe the high grades I would get on anything. I really didn't. And whenever I would get something, I would put more recognition on my amazing study group that I had, because I still keep in contact with them till this day. And they did help me a lot in the sense where we kept each other accountable to complete assignments on time while minimizing procrastination as best we could. But I definitely did find myself putting more light on them than myself, where it should have equally been put onto. Now, once I completed Santa Barbara, few weeks after I started working my 9 to 5 while attending graduate school part-time at night. Mi gente, the first time I set foot on my campus, I automatically was like, I do not belong here. This school made a mistake. And I remember sitting outside of my night course, just waiting. And the entire time I was waiting, I was legit having like what I would categorize as a panic attack based on like what research studies define panic attacks to be. And I would just feel myself tense. And I actually started to cry before my first night class ever in my master's program. Now, my previous master's program I was in, I honestly really enjoyed it. There was nothing that made me feel excluded, but when I did end up leaving that program, it wasn't because the program wasn't great. It was, and it actually benefited many other students. But however, one of the reasons that played a factor in me leaving that program was the sense that I just felt like I needed my break, in the sense where it's just I had done undergrad for 6 years. Few weeks after, it sounds so ideal to gain a 9 to 5 right after graduation, as well as an acceptance into a grad program. It's really ideal. However, I felt all that pressure, and it was just one of the very few reasons that led me to just take that leave of absence to then eventually leave that program. Months and months later, I am now in my graduate program at Stanislaus State University, and after taking the time to recharge, to truly reflect, and just really give myself the self-care and love I truly deserved, and reminding myself that, Estrellita, it's amazing that you always reassure everybody else how awesome they are. It's amazing that you do that. It's amazing that you put yourself out there, but you need to do that for you too. And that's what I found myself doing during that time I took off. Granted, with other things I had to just figure out on my own. And if someone is telling you that you going to grad school right after your graduation, or you not getting a 9 to 5 right after you graduate, there is nothing wrong with you. You are doing exactly what you are meant to do. And as long as you know that you are being good to you, you're going to succeed and be happy with whatever it is you are trying to strive for. Now, Dominica, moving on to the content creator question. And I actually shared this with you and the other ladies when we had our informal meeting. And with this podcast, Cafecito con Estrellita, the mission is that it is a Latinx podcast that guides first-generation scholars through the path of education. And I have it that way so that I'm able to touch topics that happen in community college, as well as at the UC Cal State level during undergrad, as well as the graduate level. However, even though I believe in my project so much, even though I take the time, where I even have a business coach, by the way, shout out to you, Reina, if you are tuning in. I did not think it would have as much importance to other audience members as I thought it would. And I don't want to say it's because I didn't believe in the project, but I definitely want to say it was happening a lot faster than expected, where I openly told my 6 mujeres that participated with me in this panel, including you, Dominica, the 6th one. I felt that every time before I was about to upload something, I would be hesitant and wonder, is this good enough? Is this good enough for the students that are following and support this mission? Is this good enough for the individuals that just want to feel that reassurance that what they're doing is okay, or what they are learning from this platform is valid to them? And it's still a work in progress. I still find myself just getting a little, nervous, but I remind myself, Estrella, what you're doing is important, and just keep doing what you're doing. And Dominica, I really hope I answered your question. I know that was a very long response, but let me know what you think.
Estrellita, no, that was perfect. And there's so many things that you said that I could resonate with, because being a first generation college graduate, I also went to graduate school. And so I can relate to a lot of those feelings in academia, and then also as a content creator. Because especially we offline, we've talked about it, about, not everybody understands what you're doing, especially, when you have family that don't understand the content creation world right now, and kind of putting your brand out there and your story. And so it takes a lot of inner work to get to a place where you utterly believe in yourself. And so that's really the foundation of where it starts, is when you have that belief and know that you're serving others, that you have to show up for them, because you'll often find me hearing or saying, you probably hold the key to unlock someone else's prison by doing what you're doing. And so when I heard that, that really shifted my mindset of, Dominica, I'm not going to play small. I am going to put myself out there. It's not going to be perfect. And if people don't understand what I'm doing, I know that I'm doing this authentically and I'm trying to change lives here. If I hold a puzzle piece to your success, I'm going to give it to you. Like, that doesn't even hinder mine at all. Like, on the contrary, I'm going to be ecstatic that I helped you, give you that puzzle piece to do something that's going to make your dreams come true or your goals, right? And so I really believe in changing the narrative that, stronger we're together, and that as long as we're out there being true and have that authentic, mission, that it's good in our heart, then that's all that matters. And if that door didn't open, then it wasn't meant for you. And of course, like, it took a lot of work to really understand that, because it didn't feel good. And it was like, why did that happen to me? And I can tell you tons of stories. I'm infamous for having a signature story that really was the game changer in my life. And so for those of you that have been following me for a long time, about last year, I got to say it with the recognition that I got for Latina of Influence in Los Angeles. I told the dirty diaper story. And I won't say it here. I'll leave that for a cliffhanger for all of you to tune in next time that we do this. But there's really moments in your life that really rock you to your core. And you're just like, why? I want to give up. Like, why am I doing this? Nobody's helping me. Or you just play this inner head game. But the moment you start shifting that and staying true to your mission, it's just what keeps you on course. And so, Estrellita, oh my goodness, we can go so much deeper, but I just have had a phenomenal time. I'm so grateful for you to wanting to do this with me. And I'm so grateful for the ladies who have joined us in the panel. Like, what an awesome, phenomenal panel. But as we wrap up, is there anything that you feel like we didn't cover you want to share with everyone?
Thank you so much, Dominica. I appreciate your entire response, honestly. And honestly, mija, échale ganas, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be rewarded for it. And Dominica, I just wanted to know, and our listeners to know, will we be able to watch this recap later?
Yes, definitely. You can find it on the Chicana Inc. YouTube channel or on the Chicana Inc. Facebook page. And after we were done, we're going to go back and put everybody's handle so you can follow all of our panelists. They are phenomenal women, and definitely connect with everyone who you saw here.
Of course, and I love that. And lastly, mi gente, all I ask is that whenever you can, especially if you are a first-generation student, go ahead and subscribe to Cafecito con Estrellita on any platform that you use to listen to your podcast, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And please, I would strongly appreciate it if you do find my work important, if you do resonate with everything that I'm saying and I am building upon, I would appreciate it if you could please not only rate the podcast, but write a review. Mm-hmm. Because, mi gente, in order for other individuals to find this podcast, especially first-generation students, this podcast needs to continue to grow in the sense that reviews are being written, because the way that podcast platforms work is that the more reviews the podcast gets, the higher it goes up in having those chances to be in someone's recommended list. And that is something I would love for Cafecito con Estrellita to get to one day. I don't know if it is right now, but I hope it is, because my mission, I could tell you, it's very pure, and I just want to continue enlightening our first-gen gente.
Well said. And with that, we will exit. Be sure to connect with us and any social media platform you prefer. Bye for now.